fofo. This for the fofo. For the city and the back roads, got a whole county full of them ghosts. All from the fofo and that go. Hey, it's just for Beulah County. Yeah, right on your head like a bounty. Said I'm from Beulah, they know I'm from Beulah, so let me just go talk about my surroundings. Shout out them Eagles that's out in Geneva, them Lakers, oh yeah, that's Palmetto Valley. We from the football chasing these goals. If you in the way, you get taken out proudly. And Jefferson soaring with Falcon. Said that you working, you ain't really working. You see that we working, our hands got a callus. Putting in reps till we moving some mountains. Edgewell got warriors, they won't allow it. Me, I bleed green and gold, they know defeating those dragons who run the whole city. You wildin'. And they really bout it, yeah. And next we gon' go to Grand Valley. Work like a horse and don't show no remorse. So opponents keep coming, we stack them and pile them, yeah. And kinda got flooded with Spartans. As soon as they pull up on game day, we park them. Cause we number one in that spot, ain't a bargain. Man, shout out St. John, they be ballin' like Harden. This for the fofo. This for the fofo. This for the fofo.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's week 2 here live at the Crow's Nest. My name is Sam Torres, and we are going to have a great show here tonight. What a big week of football and volleyball we had right here in the YSN Ashtabula Beulah coverage area, starting out on Thursday night with an absolute, we won't call it an ESPN Classic, we'll call it a YSN Classic in the Grand Valley Mustangs taking on the Conneaut Spartans right into week to Friday, where we've got some redemption games happening, a lot of great football happening right here in Ashtabula County. And I got the distinct advantage or honor of covering a lot of it, and we had a brand new team of announcers out there covering those games. And that's right, folks. All 7 Ashtabula County schools who are signed up with YSN, all 10 of their games are going to be broadcast right here on your home for high school sports, ysnlive.com. We got to talk about a big week of football, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about our first player of the week of the year. And it's a bit of a redemption story that we're going to be having tonight. It's going to be Pymatuning Valley's Jace Folkman, who is going to be our first player of the week. Jace, come on over, have a seat.
Thank you, Sammy.
You're welcome. So Jace is going to join the show. You're basically christening the ship as the first student involved on the show. And what a big week you guys had over there in Pymatuning Valley. Starting off 1-0 against a team that, maybe you guys felt like you left some questions out there on the ground last year. Let's talk a little bit about that game and what it meant to you guys, because, all the way from the combine, I've seen you guys have been pumped up, including, just taking home just about every trophy I made.
Yeah. Last year's game or this year's game?
Let's talk about last year's game.
So last year's game, it was kind of the same thing. We expected them to pass over top, and then they did it twice on my side in the end, and it really was my fault in the end. I should have just played back, and I shouldn't have intercepted it or tried to intercept it. Should have just swatted it down. Been told that 100 times.
Coach Neil Croston is watching the show right now and smiling as it worked in your favor this year.
Yes, it did. And then not just Neil, but thanks, Neil, for helping me out a lot. But Coach Freeman especially, our DB coach, Coach Mead, Coach Andrew. We have a bunch of coaches.
So, we talked enough about last year. Obviously, you guys lose an absolute heartbreaker in week 1. You went down to Mineral Ridge. Now the Rams had to invade one of the loudest, proudest groups of fans in all of Northeast Ohio. I'll tell you one thing you're going to hear when you go to Andover. The cowbells be ringing. The crowd will be yelling, and any sort of legal noise is going to be made there. It is high school football at its best.
Yes,
the Rams had to come into Andover this year. What was the attitude for you guys coming into this game?
We wanted to give it to them straight. When that ball left that tee, we wanted to give it to them. Like, we didn't want them to feel like they had a chance to come back, like last year. It shouldn't have been close, so we had to play our hardest, make sure that didn't happen, and that's exactly what did happen. And I'm glad that, Ryan is good, and all my other teammates, they're always there for me. They're always encouraging me to work harder, and then I'm always doing the same for them, It's definitely hard teamwork. They definitely push me.
Yeah, when you talk about PV football, I think it's really easy to talk about the two-headed monster that is that running back field,
Yeah.
Ryan Croston and Ty Vickery, who, by the way, folks, they also had themselves a night. This
Yes,
wasn't a
sir.
night where they were quiet, but
Mm-mm.
you found a way to separate yourself from the pack this year, including 80 yards off the kickoff.
Yeah.
What was going on there? Because, I think there's been a thought where, the style that PV plays out there, it's kind of punch you in the mouth.
Yes.
They don't really think speed as much.
Yeah.
But you guys have surprised people, not just this year, but last year with winning the fastest team at the combine. So is that something you guys, take to heart, or,
Oh,
or
yeah.
what goes
Oh,
on
yeah.
with the speed? Because, you Lakers have learned to move.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where we get the speed from, but it is amazing because it's Braden Chenault's first year, and he's trying to learn his best, but he has the kid's fast. The kid's fast. I'll say that. But yeah.
Yeah, so you play wide receiver and defensive back.
Yep.
Wide
And slot a little
receiver
bit.
maybe not used as much
Yeah.
in
definitely
that
not.
type of offense, but I think teams go against PV and they get very comfortable and maybe ahead of themselves a little bit in their ability to pass. But you guys seem to
Yeah.
take that ball out of the air a lot.
Yep.
What goes on as a defensive back as a Laker?
You got to be focused on the game. That's it. You got to be focused on your guy. You can't be thinking about the backfield. You can't be looking at the quarterback. You got to be looking at your guy. You don't want to be losing your focus on anything else, because as soon as that ball's in the air, you got to be ready to smack it, because if not,
You're going to get head tapped.
Yeah, you let up a score. Ain't nothing you could do about that. It's not going to end good. That's all I could say.
So, as a defensive back, in the schedule that you guys play in the NAC and being Division 6, I think the makeup of those teams a lot of the time is a very run heavy,
Yeah.
big guys up front, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of deal. How do you keep yourself involved in the game as a defensive back?
You got to be prepared for anything, because you look at receivers and slots, they're a lot smaller than the running back in that backfield. So you see that dude coming running at you. You don't want to always ankle bite, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, But you just gotta show them who you are. You got to hit hard, It's really
at
about
the end
that.
of the day, whether you hit the hit stick or take him down by his shoelaces, I'm pretty sure it goes down as a tackle.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
you got to make sure that
Team
that.
tackle, no matter what, he's going down.
So, you found yourself, you're playing a little bit of slot, a couple rushing yards, couple rushing attempts.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you tried to make sure you were improving on coming into this year?
Holding the ball, for sure. If you watched our game, I think it was last year against Wyndham home, I probably fumbled 3 times.
Yikes.
I'm not going to lie. I probably fumbled 3 times. So Crossing getting on me for that. Always saying, hold that ball tight, hold all 3 points. You always want to make sure you just don't fumble it. That's number 1. Number 2, jumping up for that ball, because the ball ain't going to come to you. You got to go to the ball. You always have to make an effort to get to the ball. Breaking on the ball for sure. Footwork. It's one thing you really got to work on as a DB, receiver, slot. It's hard. It's really hard work, but it pays off.
So, working on the off-season stuff, but, there are 3 other seasons in this year. What are some other sports that you play as a PV Laker?
Well, I play baseball. That's one, but I did track and wrestling, but I don't really know if I'm going to do those anymore. But I really love baseball. It's really something I love.
So what sort of things with baseball kind of crossover into that football game? Is it the mental toughness? I mean, obviously, when you're talking footwork, you're probably talking track, strength. You're probably talking wrestling.
Teamwork.
It's the teamwork.
Yeah, especially. I think teamwork is a lot of sports. You got to have a good, strong team, communication. You guys got to have a bond. Brotherhood. It's what
Absolutely.
It is, brotherhood. If you don't like your brothers, I mean, you're not really gonna have a good team. You're not gonna get along. So you really got to work hard to make everyone feel like they fit in,
Well,
make
yeah, I
everyone
mean, you
feel like
talk
they're a
about
team.
you talk about brotherhood, and I see about 90% of the touchdowns scored in PV in the last 5 years, sitting right here in this dining room right here, amongst a bunch of guys coming down. So you guys always make sure you support each other.
Yes, sir.
But you know,
We love it.
you come in this year as a junior.
Mhm.
You know, sophomore year, you're proving yourself, trying to find yourself on a very talented team, you know, as well. You know, earning that varsity letter at PV
Feels amazing.
There's a lot of work to get done on that. You know, but what was something that changed coming into this junior year, whether it be leadership or trying to maintain yourself, making sure the underclassmen understand what it means to be a Laker?
Yeah, I would definitely say working on my leadership is definitely a big thing. Because coming in as a junior, you really got to show who you are. You got to be respectful. You don't want to be the dumb. I don't want to say dumb. You don't want to be the goofball junior. You know, because kids look up to you. You know, the younger kids, elementary school, they come to the games, they watch, they want to know what's going on. You know, they want to fit in. You gotta make sure they fit in. You know, that's really it.
So, you know what, you guys have obviously started the season well, maybe not exactly. I'm sure that Coach Croston in films probably found a couple things that you guys didn't necessarily want to let happen. I'll tell you, 27 points on on PV defense. They must have had to fight tooth and nail for every one of those.
Yeah.
But what are some things that you are looking forward to getting accomplished this year?
I definitely want to say lifting more, being able to push myself past my limits. You know, at practice, being able to run longer, being able to stay at practice longer. You know, being able to just work harder longer, do stuff for longer to get more mental reps in, get more physical reps in. Yeah.
So, you know, I'm going to throw you a little curveball here. We didn't
That's
necessarily go over this question before, but, you know, Pymatuning Valley has become a unique field to play on now, in that you guys are playing on natural grass. And shout out to the grounds crew out there, because, you know, rain or snow or shine or whatever, that field's always ready to play on.
Yep.
But obviously you guys have gotten to play on the turf as well. Now you're a skilled guy, so I don't know how this is going to go, but which one do you like playing on more? I know there's home cooking in Andover, but sometimes turf is pretty cool.
I agree. I think turf is pretty cool. I think it's soft, cushiony, you know. It's all right. But in the long run, it's falling on it and getting turf burn. Turf monster. He'll get you. That's my only main problem. It's the turf burn, and then it's the little black beads.
Yeah, whatever the rubber thing or whatever that is.
Your shoes, they get in my mouth. I don't know how that happens. Like, it's crazy. I definitely want to say grass though. It has to be low grass, because if it's tall, it trips you up. You know. Got to be low cut grass. It's just nothing beats nice, perfect, natural grass.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that question is always interesting to me when you're asking, because a lot of times the running backs, they're good on grass. It could be 4 foot tall for all they care. But, you know, as a defensive back, you got to get out there. You got to get running, get those hips open. It's a little harder to do if you need a brush hog, right?
Yeah, definitely. Get all the extra grass up, you know, whatever it takes.
So, you know, every game matters. Every single game. You guys have 10 of them on the schedule. But, you know, some games stand out.
Yes.
And which of those games this year stand out to you, or have you already played it?
One of them definitely was Mineral Ridge. I was definitely waiting for that game one. You know, that was definitely crazy. I'm excited for Jefferson. I want to see how that's going to go. We have Cardinal next. I don't want to say anything yet. I want to see how that's going to go.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you talk about Cardinal getting ready to be a conference opponent next year, as that NAC has grown every year. You know, you've got the Battle of the Valley at the end of the year. Grand Valley with an incredibly strong showing there in that first week.
Thank you.
So, you know, that should be a great game. And I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch you guys going. Stay off the internet, because they're hyping you guys up. Let me tell you, I'm sure Coach Croston is going to keep both feet planted firmly on the ground, because that's what they do at PV. But, you know, your week 1 player of the week is this guy right here. The get back was real. Mineral Ridge, he had a hard game last year, not so much this year. It's Jace Folkman, our week 1 player of the week.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Don't worry about it, my friend. Don't worry. All right, everybody. We are going to go to our first set of commercials. And when we come back, we're going to start going through stat leaders. We're going to go through the results from last week, as well as the volleyball roundup. It is the 440 Sports Show. My name is Sam Torres, and we will be right back.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Flynn. Hi, this is Steve Rossetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Nestled here in the beauty and splendor of Mill Creek Metro Parks are two of America's best golf courses, as selected by Golf Week magazine. Ranked number 9 in Ohio by TripAdvisor. Come play like a pro on these award-winning Donald Ross-designed courses. Enjoy a round with your kids and unwind with your favorite food and drinks in the grill room. For championship golf, look no further than your backyard. Mill Creek Golf Course.
All right, everybody, we are back here. It's week 2 here, live from the Crow's Nest. Want to take this moment to send a huge shout out and a big thank you to Dan Sposito over at Sposito Insurance for making this happen, as well as the Crow's Nest for hosting us here for this season's version of the 440 Sports Show. Make sure you guys come down here. The food is absolutely phenomenal. I know it's one of my favorite parts of the week coming here. You get to smell some of the best cooked food that you're ever going to come around. Specials tonight are going to include bourbon pork chops. They got that dinner on special. They have spicy pappardelle with mixed peppers and sausage, as well as fantastic stromboli, which is very, very popular. I've seen it ordered a ton of times already since I've been here. I'm going to get myself one of those very, very soon, probably right after the show. And I can't wait to dig into that. It's very, very good. And again, special thanks to the Crow's Nest, special thanks to Dan Sposito for not only sponsoring this show, but also sponsoring the hoodies that we're going to be giving out this year. Jace Folkman getting the first one of the year. We're going to see who's going to grab it next week. I'll tell you what, it was a very competitive week of football. When it came to the stats this week, they were through the roof for a lot of these teams. Not everybody got the result that they were looking for, but my goodness, did some of these people really, really jump off the page. Let's go ahead and jump right into that as we get in to this week's Stat Leaders. All right, everybody, and I just want to put a precursor on this week's Stat Leaders. It was week 1. We are starting on on Monday, which we used to have our shows on Wednesday, which gave us a couple extra days to get some of those stats in. So we're still waiting on some defensive stats from a couple teams around the county. So for the first couple weeks, we are going to go just offensive stats. As soon as I get enough to put together a compiled list, at least enough where it's a comparison, we'll get those defensive stats out there. That much I can promise you. But let's talk about some of the offense that happened this weekend amongst our Ashtabula YSN teams. We're going to talk about our week 1 passing leader. And this was a game I got to actually watch personally. Got a chance to call this game with one of the newest members of the YSN team in Scott Demos. This was the Jefferson Girard game. And Dylan Burlingham, who is going to lead all county passers this week, ends the game with 322 passing yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception for the young man. It was a heck of a game for that kid. That's one of those games, and we'll talk about it a lot more when we go through the results, that I think the last probably minute or two, those couple extra touchdowns made it look a little bit different than what the game actually was. Jefferson came out there and immediately hits them with a 76-yard bomb downfield from Dylan Burlingham to Cage Bozar. This is going to be a very, very explosive and dangerous offense. So don't be too quick to judge based on that first week. Right behind them is going to be Vin Narducci. So Vin Narducci, he's going to go 14 for 24, 120 yards passing for the St. John quarterback. 1 touchdown, no interception. This was a team that found their offense, and you could see that St. John was trying to get that running game going, and they succeeded fairly well, getting more rushing yards in that game than they did in any of the games last year. So, it'll be interesting to see where they're going to go from here as well. Matt Wagner goes 110 yards, 12 for 16 on his throws. Now, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and I'm sure that is one that Coach Terry Henton was really focusing on this today, actually, for practice. And we're going to hear a lot more from him when we go on Wednesday to the Lake Show live from Los Compadres. Colby Stiltner from the Conneaut Spartans goes 12 for 21. He throws 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Both of those interceptions actually happened in the first half. You could see he was just trying to get his feet underneath of him. But that young man made his biggest mark on the ground with the game-winning touchdown for that Conneaut Spartans team. We are going to show some highlights from those games here in just a little bit. A big shout out to Matt Marr over at YSN for putting these highlights together. A lot of great football, and we got to cover most of it. Nate Stewart over at Edgewood is going to go 11 for 23. He's got 95 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And PV's Ryan Croston, just 2 for 4, 77 yards, but he's got himself a passing touchdown in that game in their 38-27 win over the Mineral Ridge Rams. Moving on, we're going to go over to the rushing leaders. Now, I know you're looking at this. It's a very short list this week. So the cutoff point for the rushing leaders this week, 100 yards. You had to get at least 100 yards to make the leader list. So these are all the kids in the county who got over 100 yards in their games in week 1. We're going to lead the pack with Conneaut's Isaiah Bowles, 172 yards on 20 carries. Isaiah Bowles really turns it on in the second half of that Grand Valley and Conneaut game. He has shown himself to be a big-time running back, and I'll be very interested to see how this Spartans team is going to use him, because he's a young man with a ton of talent and the ability to break away that he showed on Thursday of last week. Andrew Soltis on the other side of that coin from the Grand Valley Mustangs is going to be second place this week. He's got 24 carries, 159 yards, 2 Tud Rockets for the Grand Valley Mustang in that one. Just short, boy, it was a game of games, that one. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go back over to ysnlive.com and check out the replay, because that was truly a classic football game bright and early here on week 1. Ryan Croston from PV, he's going to go 18 carries, 154 yards, 1 touchdown. Jay Anthony Williams over at Lakeside, 13 carries for that young man, 133 yards, no touchdowns for him, but he has a huge reception in that Eastlake North game, around 77 yards on a screen pass. You know, one of the ways I described him when we were getting ready to start this year was a shifty running back that is very, very difficult to take down. And that's exactly what he did in that game. He gets caught just short of the goal line, and then Bartone was able to punch that one in. Bartone playing the bulldozer role for the Lakeside Dragons. And then rounding out the list, it's another PV Laker. It's Ty Vickery with 24 carries, 121 yards, and 1 touchdown. I'll tell you what, Ryan Croston and Ty Vickery are 2 guys you better get used to hearing, because these guys are going to be rushing leaders for many, many weeks to come. It is a very good rushing attack that they have out at in Andover with the Lakers, and I anticipate a lot of success for these young men this year. Going over to the receiving leaders, and this is where you're going to see exactly what kind of game the Jefferson Falcons had in their week 1 match against Girard. It's going to be Cage Bozar, 7 receptions for 144 yards, 2 touchdowns for that young man. Really got out and got busy in that game. Girard, a very, very talented team. And I'll tell you what, they've got one of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen out there, not only in throwing the ball, but also his running game is out of this world. Right behind him, it's another Falcon. It's Terry Brown. Terry Brown, 3 receptions, 78 yards. Another Falcon still right after Terry Brown in Devin Salinas. Devin Salinas, 6 receptions, 77 yards for that young man. And I can tell you, as somebody who got to call that game, his receptions came at huge points during that game. He was able to break tackles and find the middle of the field, and he is as sure-handed as you get. Jaron Nowakowski, 1 reception, but that 1 reception good for 75 yards and a touchdown for the PV Lakers this weekend. He's going to find himself in that number 4 spot. Jay Anthony Williams from Lakeside, we talked about that screen pass, 2 receptions, 55 yards, no touchdowns on that one. And Gus Petros from the St. John Heralds, he's going to go 3 receptions, 51 yards, and 1 touchdown. He was able to get the St. John Herald's only touchdown scored in that game. A wide open look over the middle. He's able to get past 1 defender into the end zone. And what a big play for a young man, as he is just a freshman on a team full of juniors and seniors. Those are this week's leaders. So we're going to step away from football for just a moment. Oh, let's go to some of the comments. Tony Williams, Jay also had a 96-yard touchdown called back because of a block in the back. That's if you couldn't tell, Tony Williams, Jay Anthony's father, a big-time supporter of football in this area as well. Ken Petros, sorry, technical difficulties. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year of football, folks. I can promise you. And thank you guys all for tuning into this one again. Week 2 here at the Crow's Nest. I can't thank enough to Dan Sposito and the Detour family as well here at the Crow's Nest. And another little tidbit is, if you can't make the games, but you still want to be amongst your friends and watch, our games on ysnlive.com, the Crow's Nest will be showing the games here on the TVs. So if you don't want to make that away game trek and you don't want to sit at home, come on down to the Crow's Nest. They're going to have those games playing on the TVs here every week from ysnlive.com. All right, guys, we are going to change it up here just a little bit, as it is week 1 of volleyball coverage. So let's go and see who the stat leaders, as many as I could get. here on for volleyball. All right, everybody, let's get to the stat leaders, and we are going to start off with the Edgewood Warriors. Edgewood Warriors are going to go, and this week is from 8:19 to 8:25. That's everybody across the board. So if the records don't make sense, that's what it is. The Warriors are going to go 1-0 last week, defeating Pymatuning Valley. Their leaders this week, their kill leader is Faith Venzel with 34. Their ace leader is Faith Venzel with 6. Their block leader, I'll give you one guess on who that is. You got it. Faith Venzel. She's going to have 10 of them there. Lucy Paulillo with 46 digs. And Gianna Iannetta with 50 assists for the Edgewood Warriors. Moving right along, we're going to go over to the St. John Heralds. They go 1-0 this week, defeating Wycliffe. Your kill leader this week is Gabby Johnston. She's going to have 10. Ace leader is Isabel Stern with 3. Isabel Stern also going to be the block leader with 3. Your dig leader is Alexa Jordan with 17. And Lizzie Ducrow leading the assist category with 28. Moving over to the Jefferson Falcons. Unfortunately, no stats available for the Falcons this week, but we will go over their record as they go 3-0, defeating Eastlake North, West Branch, and Howland. Conneaut Spartans, they go 0-1 last week, losing to Grand Valley. Grand Valley goes 2-1 last week, defeating Wyndham, Conneaut, and also taking a loss to Berkshire. No stats available for them. I know that most of the time those stats are getting compiled before they are submitted. So next week, I anticipate we're going to have a lot more stats to go off of. But thank you to all the coaches who got those stats in so I could pull them in and we could show some shine to these young ladies. PV Lakers, they're going to go 0-2 last week. A rough start for the Lakers right now, taking losses to both Edgewood and Lakeside. And I think this is going to be the first time. You got it. And brand new to the YSN family and new to the show is going to be the Perry Pirates. So the Perry Pirates go 1-1 last week, defeating Lakeside, taking a loss to Riverside. Their kill leader is going to be Madison Minor with 35. Their ace leader is going to be Tatum Christian with 10. Their block leader, Emily McKembier, with 9. Their dig leader is Madison Minor with 27. And their assist leader is Kendra Conrad with 47. And those are your week 1 volleyball leaders. Again, what we will be doing is every week that list will be updated. We will be going through all of the leaders as long as the stats are available. Somehow, yeah, we got one more team. I knew I forgot one, and that is the Lakeside Dragons. Let's go back and talk about them. Their record of 3-2. They went 2-2 last week, defeating Harding and PV. They take losses to Perry and Kirtland. But let's talk about some of their leaders, as I got those stats today, so that's how I knew that they should have been talked about. Their kill leader is Savannah Shipman. Their ace with 56. Their ace leader is Savannah Shipman with 11. Their block leader, Peyton Woodring, with 18. Dig leader, Rachel McClure, with 61. And their assist leader, Clara Campbell, with 68. And this is a very talented young team over there at Lakeside. Coach Sanford has really been putting in a lot of work with these young ladies, improving year after year, trying to get back to that CVC championship that they had just 2 years ago. So it's really cool to see them getting better as the year goes on. And they're another one. They put in so much work in the offseason. You talk about all of the previews and traveling around. And I know that they did some team bonding things where they went and saw one of the most elite programs in all of college volleyball in Pitt. And, I know I'm a little bit out of my element here. The volleyball is much better coming from Anthony Hartwig, who nobody covers better. than that young man right there. So if you want to know anything about volleyball, make sure you're tuning in to Running Point, because Anthony just does a phenomenal job with that. Make sure you keep your guys' eyes open for the coaches' corners that are coming out. He's working diligently to try and get those coaches' corners knocked out. A lot of familiar faces you're going to see around here, particularly from the volleyball community, are going to be on those coaches' corner. I am working hard to get all the coaches' corners done from around this area. We've got 2 out right now, one with Brandon Hanna over at Jefferson High School. We've got one with Bob Delgosh over at St. John. We are sitting down with Terry Henton every week. Got some more coming down the line. You just got to bear with me. They will be here, I promise you. All right, Yep, all right. So we're going to go through some of the scores from last week, and we'll go a little bit through each of these games and talk about some of the things that were going on. So we'll start off at the top. Lakeside starting their year off with a win, 21-14 over East Lake North. And that was a game that Lakeside had to grab. They had to take that win late in the game and hold on to it. This is an offense that I think a lot of people assumed is going to go out there and score 50, 60 points a game because of all the talent that they've got going on. But East Lake North is a very, very tough team. Their defense was stout, trying to keep these guys under wraps, and they did a pretty good job, but not good enough, as Lakeside finds it at the end, gets that final touchdown, gets that 2-point conversion, and gets things going. The Edgewood Warriors, they had arguably the most difficult task of week 1, taking on the Garrettsville Garfield G-Men. Now they are going to fall 47-27 in that one. But, one of the things to take away from this, to me personally, what I find to be most impressive is putting up 27 points on Garrettsville Garfield is no easy task. That is a team of big, strong, and technically sound football players down there. And Edgewood down there showing that they've got the athletes. They're going to be able to compete week in, week out. They've got a brand new quarterback in junior Nate Stewart, who went down there, had a really great week throwing the ball, just about 95 yards, if I remember correctly, from the stats. But, going against one of the best defensive lines, one of the best defensive fronts that they're going to see all year in that Garrettsville team. So heads up, keep your heads up over there in Edgewood. There's a lot of good things coming. Conneaut going to grab the win, the last second win, the steal of the year, 29-26 in their win over Grand Valley. And when I tell you Grand Valley, the Mustangs came out in that game with their hair absolutely on fire. Right down on that first series of plays, get down, get into the end zone, get their points, looking good. They have established the run game much better than they had all year last year. Andrew Soltis was an absolute force. Sammy Goforth was magical with the way that he was, carrying out ball fakes and getting rushing yards himself. This Grand Valley team, very, very talented, but this Conneaut team, a little bit of a slow start. But then you got guys like Isaiah Bowles who start making big-time plays. Brady Vera stepping up in big moments for the Spartans. And nobody stepped up in a bigger moment than Colby Stiltner. Now, Stiltner has a first half that most quarterbacks want to forget. Throws 2 interceptions right there in that first half. Dusts himself off, gets right back to it, and when the game mattered the most, 1.7 seconds left on the clock, 4th down and goal from the 3-yard line. Stiltner drops back to pass, tucks and runs it in there, and they grab the win week 1. What a great game that was. We'll show you some of the highlights from that here coming up soon. Jefferson is going to fall to Girard 25-56. And this is what I was talking about a little bit earlier in the show. You look at that 56 number and I think you immediately think blowout. That's what this game was. It absolutely was not. You've got 2 touchdowns scored late in the game. One scored with just about 31 seconds to go. This game was a lot closer than it looked. Going into halftime, this game 21-7. In the first quarter, Jefferson gets out there and scores immediately. 76-yard pass to Cage Bozar. Dylan Burlingham throws an absolute dart. He throws an over-the-shoulder pass to Cage Bozar that most quarterbacks would just dream about. But he gets it done, and Bozar is the type of kid. He only needs one step on you. He's going to get out and get busy. That's exactly what he did. But unfortunately, the special teams came back and got the Falcons in this one, because following that play, it's Gerard right from the beginning. It was a 92-yard kickoff return. And then Jefferson found themselves playing catch-up through most of the game. And, this is an offense, I think, that is going to put up a lot of points. They're going to put up a lot of yards. The season is far from over from Jefferson. I think that they are going to surprise some people this week against their opponent, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit as well. St. John and Trinity. St. John falls to Trinity 28-8. And I'm going to basically repeat a lot of the same things I said about the Jefferson game. So this game, 28-8, St. John gets their only touchdown in the third quarter. It was to Gus Petros, a phenomenal freshman who found some open field, found some space, and made it happen. I think what was most impressive in this game, at least from my standpoint, was St. John rushed for well over 100 yards in this game. And if you look in the years past, the rushing game that St. John has had has been non-existent. I mean, I don't think I'm being mean. I don't think I'm saying anything off color. I mean, I am a stat guy, and I can tell you they had just about 500 yards rushing all year last year. So they're 1/5 of the way there already. Guys like Ryan Williams are making a big difference. Ben Narducci, this is somebody that we knew was going to make a difference in the run game. His ability to tuck and run played a big part in this one. Will Anderson getting some time in the backfield, showing off that athleticism, his abilities to break the tackles. It showed himself. They came up short a couple times in the red zone, and that's the kind of score you're going to see. But over on the Trinity side, you are talking about an elite athlete in their quarterback, Aiden Duncan. Aiden Duncan, every punch that St. John would put out there, he had a way to get around it, break open the plays, and he was really a one-man wrecking crew, scoring 3 touchdowns all by himself. And most of his touchdowns are going to come, 20, 30 yards plus because of his abilities to break the tackles. They were getting great pressure into the backfield. I mean, those defensive ends were really giving Trinity all that they could handle. But at the end of the day, you got to take the quarterback down, and Duncan made sure that didn't happen. And because of that, they're able to get 28 points and take away the victory. Pymatuning Valley is going to go 38-27 over Mineral Ridge. And we talked about this at the beginning of the show. It was a get-back game for this Lakers team. If you remember from last year, they went down to Mineral Ridge, an absolute heartbreaker for them. They lose in the fourth quarter with the final seconds of the game. It's one of those games that no matter how much success you have throughout the year, there's always one that sticks in the back of your mind. And I think Mineral Ridge was very much one of those games for the Lakers. They knew that they wanted to get this season started and get this season started off right. And the only way that was going to happen would be by beating the team in orange and black on their home turf. And that is precisely what they did. There's going to be a big year coming from this Lakers team. If you're not watching, you better do it right now, because this is a team that I think is going to win a lot of ball games and be very, very exciting to watch. And then finally, again, added for the first time in the recap is going to be the Perry Pirates. Perry Pirates are going to go 42-10 over the Madison Blue Streaks, folks. And let me tell you, this Madison Blue Streaks is not a pushover, a knockover team. This Perry Pirates team is just that good. Walter Moses is one of the best quarterbacks on the network this year. This is a state championship returning quarterback for this Pirates team, and they are going to be one of the top teams in the state. Now, they get bumped into one of the hardest divisions in all of football, in Division 4. And it is one of the hardest divisions in football because you've got this team called Glenville in Cleveland that you have to get through if you're going to make it to Canton. But, it'll be interesting to see if they're going to be able to get through that monster. But they still got to win some games first. It's a lot going in the right direction for the Perry Pirates. Tony Williams says, man, I wish those Petros boys would have stayed home, but I get it. Got to do what's best for your family. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll tell you what, it is a talented group of kids that they've got over there. And Grayson Petros, speaking of the Petros, I mean, he's a monster. That young man in that Trinity game spent more time in the backfield than the quarterbacks half the time. I mean, it's something that they've got going for them, and it's something I'm really excited to see as somebody who's going to get to call these St. John games this year, how that kind of develops throughout this year. All right, so that is the games that is our recap. Let's talk a little bit about the games coming up this week. So coming up this week, it's week 2, and everybody's playing on Friday. So the Lakeside Dragons are going to be traveling to NDCL. This is a big temperature check for the Lakeside Dragons. NDCL is a very, very talented team. They're big. They're not necessarily the fastest team you're going to be going against, but they get the job done, and they just happen to have a Hall of Fame player in Archie Griffin's son coaching them. So the coaching is going to be there. This is a big test for Terry Henton, and we're going to talk about this a lot more on Wednesday. Edgewood and Grand Valley. So it's both teams 0-1 here. Edgewood going to Grand Valley. Grand Valley on a brand new turf this year. It's absolutely beautiful. Shout out to that athletic director, to that athletic group out there for getting that done. It is a wonderfully, wonderfully done turf. If you haven't got a chance to see it, head on down to Orwell and go check that thing out. They are going to be taking on the Edgewood Warriors this year. And this game, I think a lot of people early on in the year would have assumed that, Edgewood was going to be able to go there and get away and, do like they did last year. But I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think this is going to be a ball game. Grand Valley has shown the ability to run the ball. They can move defensive lines. Andrew Soltis is not a guy that you're able to take down on the first with one tackler, or definitely not on the first tackle. So this game could be another one of those very, very close games. Now, over on the Edgewood side, Nate Stewart has an absolute cannon. I mean, a cannon. That kid can flat out chuck the ball. And to match that arm strength, they've got a kid by the name of Riley Baldwin. Riley Baldwin, a tall, rangy receiver, not afraid to go up and get it. He's got a great set of hands on him. It's going to be interesting to see, are the Edgewood Warriors going to try and air it out against this Grand Valley team? Are they going to try to test these defensive backs? And is Grand Valley going to be up to the test? Conneaut heading over to Independence. Independence takes a loss in week 1. I'll be honest with you. I think Conneaut is riding high right now. They were down low in the beginning of that game. They figured it out at the end. I think they're believing in themselves. They've got some big time players on that team, including, we talked about Colby Stittner. We talked about Isaiah Bowles. Ryan Turner was huge in that game. He moves over from the line to the tight end spot. And guess what, folks? The kid can catch. Good enough for 2 touchdowns for that young man. It's going to be interesting to see how they incorporate him in there. And they still got a big, giant human being in Dylan Phillip, who stands at 6'7", almost 300 pounds. I think Conneaut is going to have a pretty good Friday night in Independence. This next game. Now, normally I wait until the Super Show to call these games. I'm going to give you one free this week. Jefferson is going to Lakeview. Everything that Jefferson is feeling after that Girard game continues to bubble. Every fire that was lit in that game is gaining traction. They are practicing hard. Their coaches are coaching hard. They are locked in. I may be the only one that you're going to see on the network call this game this way. And I'm not calling this because they're Ashtabula. I'm not calling this because I know these kids. I'm calling this because I truly do believe this week Jefferson goes down to Lakeview and they're getting win number 1. I think Jefferson is fired up. They're ready to make a statement against an old NE8 foe. It's the one thing that they've been trying to shake the whole time was, did they belong in that conference? And even with winning a regional championship, there are still people questioning whether they belong there. I think this is one of the weeks where they're going to be able to answer that question. Dylan Burlingham, even in a loss, threw for 322 yards in one game. They have 3 receivers that are the top 3 receivers in the county. And they've got a 4th receiver that can catch the ball, and you're also going to catch him in the running backfield. This Jefferson team is dangerous, and if you overlook them, before you know it, they're going to be ahead. St. John and Wycliffe. This will be my game this week. This is at home at the Spire. It's the home opener for the Heralds. The Heralds, while it didn't go the way they wanted to last week, they were able to get one thing done, and that was establish their ability to run the ball. Even though they gave up some rushing touchdowns, their defensive front was able to get into the backfield. They're big. They're strong. They had a tough outing against an elite athlete. That quarterback, Aiden Duncan, is a transfer in from St. Ed's, and he showed it. This week, St. John looking to get their first win, and I think it's going to happen against the Wycliffe Blue Devils. The Blue Devils have a absolutely phenomenal rushing attack. St. John knows that. The coaches know that. The players know that. They're getting ready for a big win this week. Pymatuning Valley Lakers, they are riding a high. They got their get back. They got past Mineral Ridge. They've started off 1-0. They have a chance to give Cardinal, to give the Huskies a look of what the NAC is going to be like next year when they get in there. They got to go to Cardinal. They got to take the 20-minute trip over into Middlefield. I think it's PV all the way on this one. Give me, it's the rushing attack. It's the defense. The Lakers have a way of getting it done. Coach Croston is not letting anybody sit on their laurels. They scored 38 points, but they gave up 27, and I'm sure that's what he said when they came to practice today. Look for them to get even better in week 2. And our final game on YSN this week is going to be Perry at Euclid. I'll be honest with you, I see this one going all the way Perry. All the way Perry. I think Euclid is a struggling program. They're Division I, so you talk about Perry, who is Division IV this year. We're talking playoffs, we're talking points already, right? Playoffs and points. Grabbing a win over a Division I Euclid really gives you a lot of points. I think Perry's going to go out there and get the job done. It's going to be, a lot of Walter Moses, a lot of, this monster team that is Perry. Get a look at them. They're going to be on YSN. All these games are going to be on the network this weekend or this Friday. So make sure you don't miss a minute of it. If you ever want to get a chance to kind of catch all the games on the network at once, check out the YSN Facebook page and check out the Audible Call with Mike Ackelson, who is a legend in sports broadcasting that we have on our team right here at YSN. He's going to be going game to game to game, very similar to what you'd see at Red Zone, except it's better because it's teams where you know the guys. That's what we got for this week's show. I'll tell you what, I'm really, really excited about this upcoming week. We've got some games where some teams can really separate themselves. We got some teams that are going to be looking to bounce back from week 1, and we've got some teams that are going to look to carry on all of that momentum. And you're not going to have to miss a second of it because it's going to be available right here on ysnlive.com. My name is Sam Torres, folks, and as always, this is for the 440.
This for the 440. This for the football. For the city and the back roads. Got a whole county full of them ghosts. All from the football. Hey, it's just for Beulah County. Yeah, right on your head like a bounty. Said I'm from Beulah, they know I'm from Beulah. So let me just go talk about my surroundings. Shout out them Eagles that's out in Geneva. Them Lakers, oh yeah, that's Palmerton and Valley. We from the football chasing these goals. If you in the way, you get taken out proudly. And Jefferson soaring with Falcons. Said that you working, you ain't really working. You see that we working, our hands got a callus. Putting in reps till we moving some mountains. Edgewell got warriors, they won't allow it. Me, I bleed green and gold, they know defeating those dragons who run the whole city. You wildin'. And they really bout it. And next we gon' go to Grand Valley. Work like a horse and don't show no remorse. So opponents keep coming, we stack them and pile them. Yeah, and Connie got flooded with Spartans. As soon as they pull up on game day, we park them. Cause we number one in that spot, ain't a bargain. Man, shout out St. John, they be ballin' like Harden. Switch for the football.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.